The sun poured through the grand windows of the wedding hall, casting golden stripes across the polished wooden floors. The air was thick with the scent of roses and jasmine, mingling with the faint sweetness of vanilla from the tiered cake that sat near the entrance. I adjusted my tie nervously, my hands betraying a tremor I tried to hide. Today was my daughter's wedding. My little girl, the same one I had once chased around the garden, was about to step into a life I could neither control nor predict. I scanned the room, my chest swelling with a mixture of pride and nostalgia. There was my daughter, radiant in a gown of ivory lace, her hands trembling slightly as she held a bouquet of pale pink peonies. The groom smiled at her, handsome and confident, yet something in his smile felt practiced. I shook off the unease. It was the first of many little worries that day, no doubt. I was crouched near the edge of the room, trying to keep an eye on my grandson, Samuel. He was a bright-eyed boy, no more than 8, who had always been cleverer than his years suggested. Samuel had been unusually quiet this morning, sitting near the flower arrangements and fidgeting with his small hands. I gave him a gentle nod, and he nodded back, eyes darting nervously toward the back of the hall where the guests were gathering. Then, just as my daughter began her walk down the aisle, Samuel tugged at my sleeve. I turned, smiling down at him. "Grandpa," he whispered, his small voice trembling in a way that instantly made my heart tighten. "You have to stop this wedding." I blinked at him, momentarily frozen. "Stop what?" I asked, trying to suppress the sharp edge of panic creeping into my chest. "This wedding," he repeated, almost pleading, his eyes wide and serious. "You have to stop it, please, Grandpa. You have to." I chuckled softly, though unease coiled in my stomach like a snake. "Sammy," I said, crouching lower to meet his gaze, "weddings are happy things. Why would I stop your mom's wedding?" His small hand gripped my jacket, urgency pressing into his fingers. "Grandpa," I heard him. "I saw him do things he shouldn't. He's not who he says he is. You can't let Mom marry him." A shiver ran down my spine. My first instinct was disbelief. A child's imagination was vivid, and this was a high-stress day. Maybe he had misunderstood something. Yet the intensity in Samuel's eyes, the fear, the conviction made my heart thump in a rapid, irregular rhythm. What things did you see, Sam?" I asked cautiously. He swallowed hard, glancing toward the aisle where my daughter was taking slow, careful steps. He lies. He hides things. And he wants to hurt someone in our family. I heard him on the phone last night, Grandpa. He said he'd get rid of anything in his way." The words hung in the air like smoke. I felt my pulse quicken. Could a child that young perceive danger so clearly? I wanted to dismiss it, to smile and reassure him that adults handle things better. Yet deep inside, a cold knot of dread told me Samuel was telling the truth. I looked down the aisle. The bride glided forward, oblivious, radiant, trusting, and so fragile in that moment. My fingers clenched into fists. Could this be true? Could someone so seemingly perfect hide such darkness? I glanced at Samuel. "Do you have proof?" I whispered, my voice low, almost breaking under the weight of what I feared. He nodded quickly, pulling from his pocket a small envelope. My brow furrowed as I opened it, revealing a few photographs and a recording device. I hadn't realized he had gathered evidence, clever child. My heart pounded. Each image, each file was a silent scream. Betrayal, deception, danger. I swallowed, forcing myself to think. My daughter's life, her happiness, her very safety, everything hung in the balance. And all of it rested, for now, on the instincts of an 8-year-old boy. "Grandpa, please," Samuel whispered, gripping my hand. "You have to stop him. You have to stop him before it's too late." I nodded slowly, a cold determination settling over me. I had always been the protector, the silent guardian behind the scenes. Now the role demanded action, not tomorrow, not in a discreet whisper, but asterisk asterisk, now asterisk asterisk, as the ceremony continued. I glanced once more at the bride, so innocent in her hope, so unknowing. And in that moment I vowed that no one would betray her on her wedding day. Not if I could help it. And then, before the ceremony could proceed another step, I began to move. I slipped out of the crowded hall, my hand firmly holding Samuel's small one, guiding him toward a quiet corner behind a row of velvet chairs. My mind was a storm of confusion, anger, and disbelief. Could this really be happening on my daughter's wedding day, the most sacred and joyous day of her life? "Grandpa," Samuel whispered urgently, tugging at my sleeve, "you have to listen. He's not who he says he is." I stopped and knelt down to his level, forcing myself to look into those young, earnest eyes. "Sammy, I'm listening," I said, trying to calm my racing heart. "Tell me everything, don't leave out a single thing." He took a deep breath, as if steeling himself for the gravity of what he was about to reveal. "I was supposed to be asleep last night," he began, voice low, but I couldn't sleep. I heard him talking on the phone in the study. He didn't know I was awake. I recorded it. He held out a small phone, its screen glowing faintly. My fingers trembled as I took it and pressed play. The recording was unmistakable. A deep male voice, cold and calculating, speaking about lies, about hiding money, about hurting people who could expose him. And then my heart almost stopped. He mentioned my daughter, using her name, talking about taking everything she had worked for, and how quickly things would crumble if she married him. I looked at Samuel, my chest tightening. "Are you sure about this, Sam? Could you have misunderstood?" "No, Grandpa," he said, shaking his head vehemently. "I know what I heard. I tried to tell Mom, but she wouldn't believe me. She thinks I'm just scared or imagining things." My stomach churned. My daughter, my little girl, completely blind to the danger, standing at the altar beside her. The man she had chosen, the one she trusted with her heart, was a liar, a predator, someone whose only aim was to exploit and destroy. I clenched my jaw. "Where's the proof? I need evidence that she can see." Samuel nodded and handed me the small envelope he had brought earlier. Inside were photographs, the fiancé meeting secret contacts, exchanging envelopes filled with cash, signing documents in my daughter's name without her knowledge. There were even receipts, bank statements, and messages clearly threatening others who had gotten in his way. I felt a wave of fury unlike anything I had ever experienced. How had I missed this? How had I let him fool everyone, including my daughter? The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. This man had been hiding in plain sight, pretending to be perfect while plotting our family's ruin. "Grandpa, we have to stop him," Samuel whispered, tears brimming in his eyes. "If you don't, I don't know what he'll do." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to remain calm. My mind raced, trying to form a plan. There was no time. The ceremony was ongoing, the guests unaware, the bride completely vulnerable. Every second we hesitated could cost us everything. "Okay, Sammy," I said, my voice firm. "Here's what we're going to do. We stop him today. We do it carefully, but we do it. I promise you, I will not let him hurt her." I could see a flicker of hope in his eyes, and it strengthened my resolve. This was no longer just about love or pride. This was about protection, justice, and the ultimate betrayal being uncovered at the most crucial moment. We began to strategize in hushed whispers. Samuel, in his youthful cunning, suggested subtle ways to distract the groom, ways to make him expose himself without directly alarming my daughter. I added my own experience, thinking about contacts I had long trusted, people who could move quickly if called. The sound of the orchestra, playing a soft waltz, filtered through the walls, a serene, blissful background to the storm of betrayal and tension swirling around us. My daughter's laughter echoed faintly from the aisle, and I felt a painful stab of guilt. She was blissfully unaware that her wedding day, her dream day, was on the brink of disaster. I gritted my teeth. "We do this carefully," I said again, "but we do it now. We don't wait another moment." Samuel nodded, gripping my hand tighter. In that instant, I realized something extraordinary. This small boy, barely old enough to understand the full weight of danger, had saved the day. He had seen through lies adults were blind to, and now it was up to me to act. With a final glance toward the aisle where the bride was halfway down, I whispered under my breath, "No one betrays my family today. No one." And with that, the plan was set in motion. Revenge does not always come with shouting or fists slammed against tables. Sometimes it arrives quietly, wearing patience like armor and truth like a blade. I straightened my jacket and walked back into the wedding hall as if nothing were wrong. The music continued, soft and romantic, fooling everyone but me. My daughter stood at the altar now, glowing beneath the chandelier, her eyes fixed lovingly on the man who did not deserve her trust. He smiled back at her, calm and confident, unaware that the ground beneath his feet was already beginning to crack. I caught Samuel's eye from across the room. He gave me a small nod. Our silent agreement, the plan was simple: expose the truth without destroying my daughter in the process. First, I approached the groom. "Son," I said warmly, placing a hand on his shoulder, "before we continue, may I have a quick word? Just tradition. A blessing from the bride's father." His smile stiffened for half a second, so brief most wouldn't notice. But I did. Still, he nodded. "Of course, sir." We stepped aside near the refreshments table. I leaned in close and whispered, "You left your phone unlocked last night." The color drained from his face. "I don't know what you're talking about," he muttered. I smiled gently. "You will." I returned to my seat and pulled out my own phone. Years ago, I'd built a quiet network. Old friends in law enforcement, financial auditing, and legal affairs. I sent one message, then another, short, precise, urgent, asterisk wedding, active fraud, evidence attached. Asterisk within minutes, confirmations arrived. Meanwhile, Samuel played his part perfectly. He walked toward the altar with an innocent smile, pretending to trip. The small recording device slipped from his pocket and skidded across the polished floor, stopping right at my daughter's feet. She bent down, picked it up. "What's this?" she asked softly. The groom froze. Before anyone could react, the device began to play. His voice echoed through the hall, cold, calculating, unmistakable. "Once we're married, everything becomes mine. The accounts, the property, and if anyone finds out, I'll handle it." A gasp rippled through the crowd. My daughter's face went pale. That's your voice," she whispered. The groom stammered, laughing nervously. "This is ridiculous. Someone's playing a joke." "Enough," I said, stepping forward. I raised my phone and connected it to the hall's sound system. Photos appeared on the large display behind the altar. Bank transfers, forged signatures, messages threatening former partners. Police reports from another state, charges dropped due to missing witnesses. Every lie, every betrayal laid bare. My daughter looked at him as if she were seeing a stranger. Tears welled in her eyes, not of weakness, but of shattered trust. "You used me," she said quietly. "You planned to destroy me." He reached for her. "Please, let me explain. Don't touch her," I said firmly. Security moved closer. Guests whispered. Phones came out. The perfect image he had crafted collapsed in real time. Then, right on cue, the doors at the back of the hall opened. 2 uniformed police officers entered, followed by a detective I recognized instantly. He met my eyes and gave a subtle nod. "Sir," the detective said, approaching the groom, "you're under arrest for financial fraud, identity theft, and coercion. You have the right to remain silent." The man tried to run. He didn't make it 3 steps. As he was led away in handcuffs, the hall stood frozen in stunned silence. Then my daughter turned to me, her voice breaking. "Dad, why didn't I see it?" I pulled her into my arms. "Because love trusts," I said softly, "and that was never your fault." Samuel wrapped his arms around both of us. I rested my hand on his head, overwhelmed with pride and gratitude. Sweet revenge isn't about watching someone fall. It's about making sure the people you love never do. The hall was silent, save for the soft rustle of gowns and the quiet sobs of a few guests. The man who had sought to destroy our family had been taken away, and yet the air still felt heavy. My daughter, my little girl who had trusted him with her heart, clung to me and Samuel, trembling but safe. I knelt down to Samuel's level, brushing his hair back from his forehead. "You were brave today, Sammy," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "You saw the truth when no one else could, and you helped protect everyone you love." He looked up at me, his small face solemn, yet glowing with a quiet pride. I just didn't want Mom to get hurt," he whispered. I hugged him tight. "And you didn't. That's more courage than most adults have." My daughter wiped her tears and stepped back, her hands shaking as she held onto Samuel. She looked at me, a mixture of sorrow, relief, and understanding in her eyes. "Dad, I don't know what to say. I feel broken, but also saved. Thank you for listening. Thank you for trusting Sammy." I placed a hand on her shoulder. "Love sometimes blinds us, sweetheart, but that doesn't make you foolish. It makes you human. Today we learned that family, the ones who see the truth, even when it's painful, protects us in ways no one else can." Outside the hall, the sun had begun to set, painting the sky in streaks of pink and gold. Police cars were gone, the hall slowly clearing of guests who murmured among themselves about the shocking events. And yet, in the midst of the chaos, there was a strange, fragile peace. We sat together in silence for a while, the three of us holding onto each other. Samuel leaned his head against my chest, and I could feel the steady rise and fall of his small breathing. My daughter rested her hand on my shoulder, and I realized how much weight had lifted not just the danger from the groom, but the unspoken burden of what could have happened if we hadn't acted. "You know," I said softly, "this isn't just about stopping someone bad. It's about knowing that truth exists even when it's hidden, and sometimes it comes from the most unexpected places." My daughter smiled faintly, her eyes misty. "I think I understand now. Samuel, you're my hero, too." He blushed, ducking his head shyly. "I just told Grandpa." I chuckled, feeling a warmth that cut through the lingering tension. The family bond had strengthened in ways nothing else could achieve. We had faced betrayal, danger, and deception, and we had come through together. Later, as we left the hall, I glanced back at the decorations, the flowers, the empty chairs, and even the beautiful cake that would never be eaten. A wedding meant to celebrate joy had become a day of revelation, a day of protection, a day when the truth finally won. I took Samuel's hand, then my daughter's, walking slowly into the evening light. Life would continue, and though it might be shadowed by memories of what could have happened, we were stronger, wiser, and closer than ever. Sometimes revenge isn't cruel. It's quiet, deliberate, and just. And sometimes the sweetest revenge is simply making sure the ones you love survive unscathed, ready to rebuild, ready to hope again. As we stepped into the soft glow of the setting sun, I whispered to Samuel, "You saved your family today, my boy, and that is something no one can ever take away." Samuel looked up, eyes shining, and whispered back, "We saved each other, Grandpa." And in that moment I realized he was right. The betrayal had been uncovered, justice had been served, and the bonds of family had proven stronger than any lie. We walked forward together, into the next chapter of our lives, cautious, wary, but unbroken. And for the first time that day, I allowed myself to smile, truly, knowing that love, vigilance, and courage had triumphed over deceit.